Welcome to the College and Career Readiness Chat, powered by MajorClarity. I am your host, Erik White, and today we'll be talking about avoiding summer slide and quick tips for promoting CCR stride. But before we get started, I'd like for each of today's panel members to introduce themselves, play a little round robin here. But each of them is a team member at MajorClarity, joined our company after first serving as an educator themselves. We have three panelists here today, but we are super thankful for all of the former educators at MajorClarity and across the country. We couldn't have done this without you. This is a part of what makes our company uniquely connected to our partners, who are an honor to serve. So let's start with the one and only Beth Smith.
Hello, thank you, Eric. My name is Beth Smith, and I have been with MajorClarity for just over 2 years. My current position is Manager of Education Projects, which I love. And before joining MajorClarity, I spent over 26 years in public education, primarily at the middle and high school levels. And I was a classroom teacher, a school counselor, and then my last 15 years as a middle or high school principal.
So I'm Jose Fuentes. I'm a Customer Success Associate here at MajorClarity. I started in April. To give you some background from education, I used to teach 3rd and 2nd grade in Arlington County, and then I moved to Punta Cana, Dominican Republic, the beautiful country that it is, to teach 5th grade over there, so I have international background. And so I'm excited to talk about this topic today.
Awesome.
I'm Andrew Perkinson. I'm an instructional designer here at MajorClarity, and I used to teach 5th grade at Richmond City Public Schools in Virginia.
Thank you all. Awesome team to work with here. So let's dig in here. So Andrew, you actually just wrote a blog on this topic. Can you give the listeners some context of what summer slide actually is?
Absolutely. So if you've ever been a teacher or been around schools, you've seen this yourself. You get back to school in September and you expect your kids to be in one place and they're not there. And basically, kids can lose up to 2 months of reading skills, 2.5 months of math skills, and basically all their momentum sort of dries up over the summer. And it's not just that they're losing that as a one-off and then they catch up, it's that it builds up over time, it's cumulative. So by the end of 6th grade, students who've experienced this loss can be up to 2 years behind. And by 9th grade, basically 2/3 of income-based achievement gaps are due to this summer loss. Which is awful. And then this year, as if that's not enough of a problem, we have a year of distance learning with COVID.
Right.
To sort of compound that. So if our rising juniors and seniors are walking into next year with no mitigation, we're basically sending them backward in their career and college readiness.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for the juniors and seniors, as they're transitioning into adulthood, it's important to remember that this concept of continuous learning is lifelong learning, and that practice starts early, right? So let's talk about some of the ideas about how to combat summer slide. Beth, talk to us a little bit about why this context is a little bit more unique and compared to some of the other ones out there.
Well, like you said, there are a lot of great ideas, and we are not diminishing those, but we are focusing on those rising juniors and seniors because, look, we still have this strategic obligation, and it's written to a lot of our plans across the nation that we're answering for, and it's what we're all about, is getting our students ready before they leave us for life, for college and career readiness, to go into the workforce, military, career, college, etc. And so we're really going to focus in this session really around how do we take, research tells us that just 2 to 3 hours of learning a week in the summer can keep that summer slide at bay. But often that learning is really focused on just one thing in a silo. Like, for example, the typical thing we hear about summer reading. And listen, as a former English language arts teacher, I'm all for that. It's exactly how I would like to spend my summer, but you hear from a lot of students like, oh my gosh, this is more work for me. Why do I have to do this? Why does this novel matter? But at the same time, what we don't realize is kids never shut off their curiosity. So we want to tap into that, really get them excited about dreaming about their futures for these rising juniors and seniors, and for them finding a game plan to learn how to put those dreams into action. And so that's what we're going to focus on. Our ideas and suggestions are rooted in this context, really encouraging exploratory and experiential learning. So still recovering learning loss, but making it super personal and sticky. In redefining ready, Some support to add to this is the National Study on College and Career Readiness in 2019. We learned that those civically engaged teenagers, so students like connecting their classroom learning to their community around them, their own lives, they make greater scholastic progress, not only during high school, but they subsequently acquire higher levels of education than their otherwise similar peers. So we're gonna build on that. And that's where our CCR stride comes in.
Wow. So that's awesome. That makes so much sense. Especially, I like the idea of making things sticky over the summertime instead of just having the colorful bus and just reading the book be the end all be all.
Right.
So awesome. So I'm pretty sure our listeners would love to hear some practical examples, maybe some that don't really involve a ton of coordination, because the last thing we want to do is add something to someone's plate, right? So Jose, what are a few suggestions in this space?
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, especially here at MajorClarity, our main purpose is to take those things off an educator's plate and not add to them. So I like to start there. So in a sense, we've organized these ideas for educators as well as students and parents across 3 categories. And those are college connections, career connections, and community connections. So I'm going to start with college connections first, because I've taught a variety of settings, which necessarily have the means to travel, those parents and those students, for their future colleges. But here, MajorClarity, they can not only link to college sites and take virtual tours, they can do so much more. And another feature we provided is they can have a journal, and those kids can write about what they've learned just by those virtual tours and write their top 3 ideas of what they think is best and what they find unique about those universities or those community colleges or even those technical centers they want to look at.
Which is great too because they're stored in one place that's not going to get lost. It's not like they're doodling in a notebook, which they never look at again. So
I love that, yes.
Yeah.
The best part too, I'm thinking about it, is that counselors and administrators, they work 10 and a half, 11 and 12 months. Now, they're very busy during that time, and we recognize that. We've been in your shoes. But because you have this year-round access, and typically in the summer, you're kind of looking at your year's analytics and performance and stuff, it's a great time to look at the reporting features and really connect that to students and colleges of interest. So looking at which ones they have shown an interest in, messaging them and encouraging them to do more. Then any engagement from there forward, you capture and you can even see, is this messaging feature effective in this way, even in the summer? If counselors and admin wanted to even add a little bit more structure, we've got the tool. If they wanted to make it fun, like going along with that whole setting up incentives with reading during the summer, well, you could do the same kind of thing with some checking out colleges. You could do a scavenger hunt. Nobody's too old for that. We've seen that, with all those different breakout rooms and things people go to now. But you could message and promote this even with your parents in a similar way, because parents might not realize it's right at their fingertips for kids to begin to check out some things about colleges. And, then they are reading and they're discovering, but they're now reading that has stickiness, and it feels a lot different than Shelley's Frankenstein or Wuthering Heights, right?
yeah, exactly.
Right. But let's talk about some of the districts out there who maybe don't want to necessarily explore virtual ways to promote similar goals because they're yearning for that in-person connection. We just had a whole year of people being separated and distanced. Any ideas there in terms of how we can encourage that?
Yeah, well, we know that a lot of districts already do, college boot camp days for rising seniors over the summer. And you could build on that by hosting sort of more manageable chunks, like college quick start sessions. So rather than doing the whole college thing all at once, which is kind of a big buy-in terms of time, you would break it out into individual topics.
Okay.
So you could do is college or continuing education right for me and what I want for my career? Or you could do, where do I begin? How to fill out your list of colleges, how to make a short list. I can't afford college, so why bother? Could be a topic that's huge. It's expensive, so something on financial resources. And again, we have tools in the platform to help support these. And if you're curious about that, I suggest contact your customer success representative, and they'd be more than happy to help with that.
And I'll just volunteer myself as well. Hit Beth at MajorClarity.com. And so if for some reason they're tied up, strategy is always something, how do I make your job easier? I would love to help you with that as well.
That's great. Yeah. And also just in terms of logistics, you might want to consider spreading them out. having these smaller sessions at various times throughout the summer, so you catch more kids.
Right.
There's not, you don't have to worry about conflicts with camp or vacation or whatever, and you're not going to get everyone. Like, there's no way. But even if you get a small percentage of these kids on board, if you're a counselor, that's going to take a little bit off your plate for the year ahead. So
Yeah, all great points, man. And just a reminder that college, it's a journey. Being able to identify what schools you want to go to and applying for them, and just getting the insight, even on the financial piece, as you mentioned earlier. All great stuff. So let's talk about career connections. Jose, what are some easy ways to promote some of the more career connected learning?
Yeah, one way is like to host an applicant's toolbox workshop. So in this workshop, students just practice job searching and application skills using the MajorClarity's work-based learning feature. I know that would have been useful for me looking for jobs, right? Mm-hmm. So, and also teachers can leverage the MajorClarity's resume and cover application feature. And overall, this would just help them add to their toolbox and just make them more stand out when it comes to applying, not just for jobs, but scholarships and the colleges. Because I know when I was applying for that, I needed to get that stuff ready anyway. So here at MajorClarity, you have a process. It's all what we like. It's all one-stop shop. So they have that ready for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jose, you mentioned adding to students' toolbox of standouts, especially during the application for jobs, scholarships, colleges. Any tips for building skills here?
Yeah, we recently hosted a webinar with Stone County and Rankin School District. And one of the major takeaways from this was that the application process can apply to anything for any purpose. So in other words, part of CCR is helping students feel at ease and prepare for even those small things, like thoroughly completing any type of application, like what's my social security number? What's the best phone number to reach me? What's the best email to have? Not like coolguy@gmail.com, stuff of that nature, right? So our work-based learning tool and the direct connection with the zip codes help them align with those Indeed jobs that's around their area. And it's a perfect opportunity for those contacts to practice them and looking for local jobs and just completing those same applications I mentioned earlier.
That's so true. And, we don't realize that we say, oh, go get a job, everything that's involved in it. So doing some of this practice early sounds so kind of silly, and it's not. It's great.
Yeah, we assume they know the stuff.
Exactly.
Too.
And what's also great is if you have the work-based learning tool, if you don't, that's fine, but you can also post lots of other opportunities like that then simulate a posting of a job application so they can begin to practice that. Low risk, kind of low pressure, embedded in something you're already doing. This is what I love to kind of think about for educators. So it makes it kind of easy and a win-win. Plus you can use our messaging feature to be sure the parents and the students know about that. And why not have them look at the company a little bit and the class they're taking already, and bring 3 questions and maybe even their resume and cover letter, and just have a really nice low-key interaction with people in industry, build their networks, starting to see how relevant that is.
And on the theme of incorporating like the ease of career related learning into existing structures, why not challenge like summer school teachers to tap our extensive, huge resource library? And just having taught summer school where we have students for extended hours at a time, these types of relevant, novel infusions improve the overall learning momentum. And even better when the teachers don't have to create that stuff.
Yes.
And add things to this. It's already done,
Yes.
so which is even better.
I love it.
that's great.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And having those conversations with industry partners for the students' perspective, it's just kind of one part of the journey. So, Andrew, you actually do a lot of work with micro-credentials. Can you give a quick explanation as to what these are and why they might be a good fit for summer learning?
Absolutely. So they kind of tie into everything we've been talking about so far. So if you're listening to this, you're probably already familiar with the platform, but the way it works, we gather information about students through assessments, fit scores, things like that. Let's say they are interested in health science.
Sure.
That's cool, but that can be a million different jobs, from brain surgeon to pharmacy tech to EMT, nurse. It's very broad. So that's where the micro-credentials tie in. They are sort of exploratory in nature. They can kind of give you an idea for what the different careers are that are out there, and how you get to those careers, what you need to do to get to them. But they also give you some background that's common to all the different jobs in a career path. So some foundational knowledge that if you decide to pursue a career in health science, this information, it won't be a waste of time. You'll be able to use it.
So that could be like the kid who finishes up early in summer school stuff too.
Absolutely, yeah.
Challenge there. You know what I'm thinking? That's a great suggestion because now they've got something else to differentiate on their resume for job applications, scholarships, colleges, and they learn a little bit more. Like, is this the right fit for me without, a whole semester in college or the next year?
And in a sense, like we now know, even like taking that class for $1,000, they can at least see the foundation of like, maybe I don't want to take HVAC. And they took it, they got the certificate, but like, I don't think I'm that interested as much as I thought it was.
Yeah.
And who knows, they might be actually using that later on down the line.
Right.
And as they explore careers, they might actually use some of those skills they learned in HVAC. So,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, all good stuff. Jose, you mentioned 3 categories, college, career, and community. Can you fill us in on community connections?
Yeah, so that's service learning. That's when we're looking at it. It's just a great way to see career fields up close and build your resume and practice those soft skills that we all need, especially now, not being able to do it. So service learning could involve 3 hours of just one Saturday where they're just having a tutoring commitment at a feeder school, or a community event of interest that lasts just a couple days, or even a whole summer, who knows?
It's kind of like the micro-credential. It's a
Yeah.
low time investment,
Exactly.
low risk, and then it gives you a little closer look. I love what you said. And, that really applies to, and they can add that on their resume too, even if they didn't love it. You learn something from it. So it's another resume builder, and they can do that right in MajorClarity, but also let me give you a personal example. So I have 2 kiddos. These are conversations that I've been able to have with my current high schooler, and so they can start it early. So this conversation with my kid in college, at least we're having it now, but I wish I'd had it earlier. So what parents, educators can do is say, okay, if that's kind of an interest, so look for a related job, even if it's volunteer. Last year, building on that volunteer at campus, coming home for the summer, she was able to look in MajorClarity on her account and look at, just through the work-based learning that's included with the platform, there were Indeed jobs, they're sourced by zip code, and she saw, Maymont Park, where you could do educating our young visitors. And she was all about it. Well, it got canceled with COVID, but she was able to revisit that again through MajorClarity and apply to a few other things, and she landed that kind of dream internship for the summer. So these are great things.
So whether it's college connections, career connections, or community connections, engaging summer CCR learning expands students' vision for their future, reinforces year-long classroom learning, and fuels academic persistence for the year ahead. And it's far simpler when you have the support of a CCR academic planning platform like MajorClarity. But how can districts who are not already partners fund this possibility?
Well, one way, because this is a focus on learning and loss recovery, is by using ESSER 2 and 3 funding. Right, Beth?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for bringing that up, because you know what, Andrew, what a lot of times it's easy, I think, and districts we've already talked with that are partners, asking about, okay, how can I shape the language and how I rate my ESSER 2 and 3 submissions? In that language, it's a little bit easier the younger ages. This is why we targeted this to this group, because learning loss a little younger, you do focus on recovered reading skills, recovered math skills, so you can get them to their different, state assessments, et cetera. But 11th and 12th graders, it becomes less of a plug-in, but we're talking exactly about learning loss. And they're looking for innovative kind of proposals, such as contextual learning in this example. So it really plugs right in. And the other beautiful part is you can also infuse it with some other funding streams that you may need to use up or are about to become available. And those include Perkins 5, Title I, Title II, anything to do with IDEA. So, and there are other things too. Again, we're happy to help with that.
Yeah, and we're actually seeing that quite a bit with districts looking to braid those funds together. Well, that wraps up our time for this episode of College and Career Chat. Thank you all for joining us. If you have additional questions, feel free to email info@majorclarity.com. We love to help you guys out. So hope you have an amazing day, and thanks again.